We're broadcasting from the Middle Tennessee Electric Studios.
Visit mte.com.
Middle Tennessee Electric, serving to make life better since 1936.
This is the WGNS Action Line. Talking with Rutherford County newsmakers
since 1947.
This is the WGNS Action Line. Now your host, Scott Walker.
This morning, joining us in studio from the Rutherford County School System, we have got James Evans, the Chief Communications Officer, and also Tracy Wise, the school's lead social worker. How are both of y'all doing this morning?
Doing great. Thanks for having us.
Yes, thank you.
You guys have a lot going on this week. I know we were talking just before going on the air, a big concert coming up, and part of the involvement there would be the county schools because the person performing went to the county schools.
Yeah, last night our week got a lot busier. Jordan McCullough is a local from Oakland High School, Oakland Middle School, and then he also attended John Pittard School for the city schools. But he got into the top 3 of American Idol. Congratulations to him. And we're going to now have a huge free community concert tomorrow that the city's been working with the producers. We've been working with them on a visit to the schools. There's a parade that's going to happen. We've been talking about these logistics hypothetically for 2 weeks, but now it's gotten really real because we have to actually follow through with it, and it's happening tomorrow. So there's going to be a really busy atmosphere, more than normal, in Murfreesboro.
So Jordan McCullough, now, how long ago did he graduate from Oakland?
He graduated in Oakland, I believe, in 2017 is what I have.
Okay.
So he's in his 20s.
Yeah.
Really talented young man. If you see him perform, he's really captivated a lot of the audience attention.
Now, looking back over the years, do you recall, was he part of choir? Was he part of the band?
So I don't know him personally, but in these planning meetings we've talked, he was involved in several different groups like that. He has some superlatives from Oakland High School. I think he was voted most talented, things like that. So he's got a long history of this type of thing. So.
Pretty cool stuff. I mean, especially because Murfreesboro, Rutherford County, I mean, we're going to be in the spotlight here pretty soon tomorrow. Right.
Well, and I was mentioning that we almost had this last year because Maddie Pruitt from Eagleville, she was in the top 5 for American Idol. We think it's kind of special that we have 2 of our students who have made it this far back to back in this competition. Unfortunately, she didn't make it in the top 3 last year, but we were doing all of this prep work, potentially going to have a concert in Eagleville last year, but then those plans changed. So that was kind of the dry run for this one. So we've been through this somewhat before, but we've never actually seen it fulfilled. So I'm curious to see how this all comes together in the next 24 hours.
And I'm curious, the behind the scenes of all of this, did you guys have any kind of heads up at all? There's a pretty good chance he's going to get to this top 3 point, or did they not say anything to you?
So they don't really know because the voting is live during the show, but it definitely was trending that way a few weeks ago. They started telling us that we started having some meetings with producers. We've been doing Zoom calls with some producers who are out in California, telling us that, he's in the top 10 or 12, whatever the number was. And then, he's probably going to make the next one. Good chance he'll be in the top 5, which he did. And then, they get assigned to a different talent star on the show. And they were telling us, we're hopeful he's going to make the top 3 too, but we really don't know until it happens. And so we have to act like it's going to happen until we know otherwise. And fortunately, we got several things in place. We've already been sending home parent permission slips for 3,000 students so they could sign it so that potentially if these film crews show up, which they're now going to do, that we have that permission all in place. There were some other legal things that we had to, use of facilities and insurance and all those kinds of things had to be in place first. And so we've got all that worked out. Now we just have to do the events tomorrow.
When this is all unfolding, these producers, I guess, are calling you guys saying, hey, we're going to send a film crew here, we're going to send them over there, and so forth. Are they planning to go to Oakland, interview some of his former teachers? What do they do, or what did they tell you they're going to do?
So for convenience somewhat, because they have to move so much around, we are going to move all of our students to the stadium at Oakland High School. That includes the middle school as well tomorrow. And we're going to have a big pep rally outdoor there with Jordan. So they'll film it all there just so that we can have it all in one location. Then they're also making a separate trip across the street to John Pittard because he was in the choir there, is my understanding. So they're going to do some stuff there with the choir at his original elementary school. But then he has to be there. He has a whole, of course, an itinerary tomorrow. There's a parade, there's a concert, I'm sure there's some sort of sound check and all those kinds of things. So the afternoon's very busy. He'll be a very busy guy tomorrow. I'm sure he already is, but we get being rushed back from California and doing all this again. So
it's got to be somewhat inspirational for the students when they see somebody who actually made it, and they made it this far into American Idol and all that stuff. But it's got to inspire some of those students who do have dreams and hopes and goals of maybe becoming a singer one day, or maybe even getting into acting, or anything along that entertainment field. It does have to be inspirational.
Well, with our proximity to Nashville, we do have other examples of where we've had students who've made it, but it feels a little different when it's a nationally televised show that's watched by millions, and it's in California. Just to know that if I sing choir in elementary school and then middle and high school, that this could be my future one day. Absolutely, I think it is inspiring for those kids.
You bring up a good point that there's been others as well, and I think one in the past was from Oakland also, right?
That's right. Chris Young is from Oakland, so yeah, for sure. We've had, and there's been other examples too, of course, but it's. One doesn't replace the other, but when you have someone like this that is something that we've never had before, it's just always amazing, and the kids, I'm sure, will be starstruck tomorrow.
It'll be good. It'll be interesting. And the parade, that'll start at 4 o'clock from what I understand, and the concert at 6.
Yeah, and the city is handling that part of it, but that's what I've also been told, is that one's at 4 and one's at 6. It's free to the community. I don't know. This may be a very busy square tomorrow afternoon, it sounds like.
Yeah, I would imagine. And probably not a lot of work getting done tomorrow at school for the students, because they're probably looking forward to this, and it'll probably be a big day for them.
Well, fortunately, a lot of the testing that we've been doing over the last few weeks is now over. So they threaded the needle nicely that it's not interrupting any of the end-of-the-year testing. Their school's preparing for graduation. So it's actually a decent time to have something like this. Had it been 2 weeks ago, it would have been a lot harder because we had a lot more things going on that had to be done.
So what is taking place this time of year within the school system? What are the big things happening?
Well, so the elementary and middle schools have just wrapped up TCAP testing for the most part. There's some makeup dates going on. The high schools, of course, those students are working on end of course exams and all the end of the year type things. And then graduation kicks off next week, next Tuesday.
That's really soon.
And I don't think people understand, we have 12 high schools that hold graduation. Well, we have 12 high schools, so there's 12 different ceremonies. And if you see our calendar, it is a very busy next week and a half, because there's some nights that there are 3 happening at once. That's next Friday night. One night there are 2 happening. And then Saturday there's 3, Sunday there's 2. It's just back to back graduations. Lots to celebrate. We have over 4,000 graduates. We have one of the elite graduation rates in the state. It's 97.2 was the last time it was given to us, but that makes us just really proud to see, this is the culmination of 13 years for these students, and it's just great to see them make that final achievement.
Where do all these graduations take place? Because nowadays, with the schools being so much larger, there's not enough room in the school to hold a graduation.
Right. Well, most of them are held at the Murphy Center at MTSU. Eagleville holds one at its own.
Of course, Eagleville's, a little different. It's
right, and they use their gymnasium. It's part of their tradition that they've done. The virtual school holds it at Tucker Theater at MTSU. Holloway uses a local church. So there's a few that are odd outliers, but
some of the smaller schools and classes.
But MTSU, and we've been doing that for many years. The only year I think that we didn't do it was around the COVID year.
Mm-hmm. Did anybody graduate during COVID? I'm just kidding.
They did, but it was on football fields, and I graduated on a football field. I'm from Cheatham County originally, so Harpeth High School. Flatbed trailer out on the football field, put a skirt around it, and that was our stage, and we did it. But
the problem, man.
But the problem with that is that if it rains, it really throws. You have to move into the gym, and you don't want that many people in a gymnasium dressed in those types of clothes. It gets hot very quickly, and it limits how many people can come. So Murphy Center has been a good fit for us.
Do you ever have those pranksters who pull some kind of prank, as they walk onto the stage to get their diploma, and they cause some kind of funny chaos, but yet out of place?
Well, the schools have some rules about ways to discourage that, but we ask them not to do air horns and those kinds of things, but it happens every year. Anyway, somebody sneaks in an air horn, and from the audience you hear them. Yeah. Those kinds of things. So some of it's good-natured fun, but nothing real chaotic.
What about like senior pranks? Does that still even take place? I mean, when I was in high school, that was one of the things that everybody would do. There's some type of senior prank.
Yes, there are some of those. Some of them have gotten out of hand over the years and had to been pulled back, but it's usually harmless stuff. You know, just stuff against the principal, those kinds of things. The principals are going to kill me that I said that, but usually funny things toward the principal. I'm not going to give any ideas. I'm sure they all just like a handshake, and that'd be great.
They probably have everything figured out anyways already.
Absolutely,
if they are planning one.
Yep.
So anyway, what else goes on within the school system towards the end of the year, and maybe this is where, I don't know, the psychology of students come into play and the sociology of students and all that.
So we do have Miss Wise here this morning, and we have a big event that she's going to tell you about.
It's a little lower profile event than an American Idol in a concert.
It's not that big, huh?
But we think it's equally as important. On May 18th, we have our second annual Mental Health Expo happening at Siegel Middle School from 6 o'clock to 7:30. And it is a come-and-go event for our families and students and really anyone in the community who is interested in coming by and getting more information about mental health and how the resources that are available in our community. We have about probably almost 30 agencies so far who have committed to being there and having a table. So they will have information, brochures. You can talk to somebody. They usually bring, a few little freebies or goodies. And so, it's a great opportunity to get all the information in one place. Because often what happens in schools, there are a lot of support staff, like school social workers, school counselors, school psychologists, our school-based mental health providers, our outside people we contract with. And we are all there for the same reason, to support students when things happen. Because we have students, everybody goes through life. Everybody goes through a lot of different things. And so inevitably, we do wind up working with our families and try to connect them to mental health resources. But often what we run into is when you're calling these places, it's just a lot of, calling one place and running into a phone system, and it's hard to get to an actual person, or the family being like, what, no one called me back, or things like that. So this is really a great opportunity for all of these places to be in the same spot, and you can actually go physically talk to a person and get the information you need.
And when you talk about a student population of roughly 51 to 52,000 students, I mean, that's more than a lot of towns in Tennessee. You're talking about a huge population of students.
Yes.
And so when you have those kind of numbers, literally, I guess some students, some are just a wide array of things that they may be dealing with, things they go through, living arrangements. I mean, there's just so much happening there.
Mm-hmm, yes. And, the mental health issues, they really don't discriminate. We have a very diverse county, but everyone, despite socioeconomic status, runs into the mental health issues. And if you look at statistics nationwide, just pretty much all of the different agencies, the CDC, the National Institute of Mental Health, the Mental Health America, they all are kind of agreeing that research says roughly somewhere between 1 in 3 or 1 in 5 children, adolescents, adults have a diagnosed mental health disorder, whether it be emotional, mental, or behavioral. And then I think there are studies that there's probably a lot more than that are undiagnosed.
And I guess when you look at all the different types of traumas kids can go through growing up, I'm sure divorce is one of those. It's right up there at the top, because there's so many families out there where they do, the parents do end up getting divorced. Is that one that, I don't know, the way that comes out in a child once they're at school, does that change from student to student as far as the way they accept it, they handle it?
Absolutely. And divorce is just one example. We have so many different issues, poverty, a traumatic incident, the loss of a loved one, bullying, peer pressure, drugs, alcohol, depression, mental health crisis, just so many different things that affect our students, situations of students in foster care, and just, life, because we all have experienced things that have been traumatic and difficult. And yes, just because it is traumatic, an incident is traumatic for one person, doesn't mean that it's going to be traumatic for the other, because there are a lot of factors, including, the support system you have and protective factors that can help buffer the effect of trauma. And so that's the reason why there's so many school support personnel, though we always, of course, need more. But that's what we try to do, that role. We need people, even our teachers, our staff, everyone plays a vital role in how we can support our students. And being that one supportive adult in a kid's life can make all the difference. And I think, many of us can attest to that personally because we experienced that. But that's what we're hoping to provide. And the more of us that there are with this common mission, the more students we can hopefully affect and change their outcome or help shape their paths.
I know over the years, it seems like there's been more and more research done showing that children, they're seeing higher levels of anxiety and depression than what they did, let's say, 10 years ago. But the numbers show that more and more kids are being diagnosed with having anxiety-related problems or depression-related problems.
Absolutely. Yes. And I think some of it may be because hopefully we're talking about it more and there is less stigma to just, it being a facet of just overall health and well-being, just like your physical health. You would get checkups, and if there was something going on, you would go get that taken care of and try to improve things. So I think that's part of it, but also, I could go on forever about all of the different factors that probably play into that. But, just our culture and the fast-paced way that things are now with the internet, ChatGPT, social media, all of the things. I think the access to all of the content and material, and sometimes just parents not realizing that close supervision needs to be there, or all the things that kids can navigate and get into.
Yeah. And again, our phone number, if anybody has any questions, 615-893-1450. If you have any questions that are concerning the county schools, or maybe students' health in general, their mental health, feel free to text that in, 615-893-1450. Are there some issues that stand out more so than others that you see in higher numbers? Certain problems that you may see more of within the schools?
Well, you kind of hit on it. The anxiety just varies greatly across our schools and how it affects students, and the type of things that they're dealing with. But that depression, a lack of being connected. Sometimes school is the only safe place, or the only place that someone might be asking, or an adult might be asking about, how are you feeling, or what's going on in your life right now. So just a lack of connection we're seeing a lot of, which leads to depression, which leads to self-harm behaviors, suicidal ideation, things like that eventually, sometimes, they're at school for the majority of their day. So those things spill outward, and often we wind up having to deal with situations where a student is expressing a cry for help. So definitely those things. Yes, I think probably anxiety, depression, behavioral issues.
It seems like, and I'm not saying that children are growing up faster than they once did, but I feel like they're being exposed to things that usually they shouldn't be exposed to until later in life. In other words, they're not necessarily growing up quicker, but they're seeing things that older kids would see later in life, and not things that necessarily we grew up with. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure you mentioned social media, the internet, that has a lot to do with it today.
Absolutely. Yes. Kind of like what I said, I could go on and on about that. But yes, I do think just the rapid pace of how fast we're able to access information and how quick these kids learn and they know most of the tricks and how to get around things. Whereas sometimes adults do tend to be a little bit slower to realizing or understanding what's out there. And so these kids, they know. So if no one's closely watching or keeping an eye on things, you can kind of get yourself into a mess pretty quickly.
And I guess for kids, just as adults, we all have this need to be, I don't know if it's wanted or noticed or loved in some way, but we just want that emotional connection to those who should be closest to us, but yet sometimes they're not, like the parents. They're too distracted with work, with their own social media a lot of the times. But that, I mean, a lot of stuff boils down to just not having a connection with that parent or with, your brothers, your sisters, whoever it may be.
Absolutely. And with the social media piece, looking for that connection online or with friends, there's this whole different dynamic or almost dimension, if you will, that happens with students dealing with their online presence and their digital footprint of these things that, we didn't have to worry about as far as how quickly something can be screenshot. And once it's out there, it's out there. And passing it on very quickly and not being able to take it back. Or, I fear now with AI that you can change things, and our kids having difficulty of distinguishing truth from, something that's not or that's altered. So
that's scary.
Yes. So there's a lot of different things that this generation is having to deal with. That it's another pressure. It's yet another aspect of life.
I know there's been a lot of studies lately that have been released about AI, about, all the chat GPTs, if you would, out there that give you feedback whenever you ask a question. But the studies show that the feedback that these bots give, if you would, is often, it makes it sound positive, whatever the question you ask is. So it gives you this unrealistic answer on many occasions. And I guess kids are getting those unrealistic answers and they think it's helping them to solve a problem, but it may lead them in the totally wrong direction.
Yes. I mean, unfortunately, there have been incidents of that happening just nationwide. You've probably heard stories of cases. I think, like, I might be just getting completely out of my lane.
You're fine.
No lanes here. This is wide open.
I think sometimes, it can be misconstrued and it can be used for good. Obviously, AI can be a great tool, but it's just when we humans can mess it up so easily and it can get out of hand. But I think with educating yourself and kind of knowing the proper use, that's why we can't turn a blind eye to it and just be like dismiss it altogether and like it's evil. We have to learn how it works and how we need to show our kids how to use it and how to tell the difference. But yes, unfortunately, sometimes there have been some cases where some things have happened like that. But I've tested it myself on some of those situations, and I think they are changing and improving as well and realizing so it will not do those things.
We actually adopted a curriculum just at the last board meeting that we're going to roll out in a pilot setting next year. I'm not the expert on it, but I know it's based on something called Wired Human. And it's talking about this exact thing that we're talking about. Of course, there are ways that AI and technology and online social media platforms, things like that, can be used as a tool. There are also plenty of examples when it can be misused too, just like so many other things can. So I think we're all kind of struggling with, we see the power of AI and how it can help us do things more efficiently maybe, and point us in the right direction. How do we harness that without doing something that's detrimental to? And that's what we're all trying to figure out.
I think this whole AI thing where folks can just jump on to whatever system you're using and ask whatever question you want to ask, or ask it to perform whatever task you want it to perform. I think it all happened almost like overnight, even though it's been happening slowly over the years. There was a change where it was suddenly available to everybody, and it did seem like it just kind of came overnight. And with that being said, it's got to be hard for the schools to incorporate that into that learning environment so that children, students, teens can understand the complications with it, the ins and outs with it, do's and don'ts with it. I mean, I don't think we've had a chance to teach the students all of that yet.
Well, and I'm just going to make a confession. I am now a paid user of ChatGPT. I paid the monthly fee so that I have unlimited use of it.
How does that feel?
Well,
Admitting that.
it just I usually get a look or a little bit of judgment, but
This is the judgment-free zone right here.
I of course work for the school system. I also teach a little bit at MTSU, and I teach a Sunday school class. And I've got to say that when I'm preparing lessons and those kinds of things, it really is helpful as a tool because I can bounce ideas off of, hey, we're studying this in Sunday school. It's an adult Sunday school class, and I'm looking for certain scriptures that match this lesson that we're working on and can help pull it. But what the temptation I think is for everyone is that, hey, just have it write the lesson for me or write the paper for me, and that's where you kind of, there's a line there because it's great as a personal assistant to help with brainstorming and pulling up, like you can use it as a thesaurus or as a search engine, but if you're having it do all the work for you and you're not learning those skills, and I think that's what our teachers are struggling with too, is that showing students that you've got to learn this foundational information, these skills that we need you to have, and not just jump to that. And I'm seeing it with some of the college students too. You can tell when there's been a student that's not been able to write a news story all semester, and all of a sudden they turn in a perfect thing at the end. That there was something there that's they got some assistance from something.
Definitely. And I don't know if you've tried this, but asking AI or ChatGPT, asking questions that are somewhat unrealistic just to get an idea of what the response is from the different versions of it that are out there. But have you tried asking some bizarre questions just to see what the feedback was? And
no, I haven't asked real bizarre questions. I'm going to tell you one of the favorite things I use it for now is when I'm looking for a recipe. Like if I'm going to smoke a brisket or something like that, and I need to know the exact temperature. What I hate when I go to like Google or another search engine is that you have to read someone's personal story before you get to the actual recipe. They got to tell you how this recipe inspired them. And I just want just give me the recipe. That's all I want.
And you can do that with
And so you go to chat and it just pulls it right up. And here's what you need to do. 225 for 8 hours. Rub it with mustard, whatever, all that stuff's just laid right out for you. That's what I like about it, is that the simplicity of just cutting through some of the things. But I've not asked any real weird questions. I don't think I have.
You can also tell it, like you can kind of teach it, like you can tell it what I'm a student, I'm a high school student looking for this, or I'm a school, I use it a lot for work related also, like I'm a school social worker looking to develop this, can you help me? And you can shape it as well as like from the perspective of a parent, can you give me some feedback? You can also tell it, my husband also has the paid version and we do utilize it.
It's okay to admit it. That's fine. You guys are a paid family. That's fine.
Guys, I've got it too. So it's okay.
And like mine's here. But you can tell it, don't lie to me, or you can call it out or say that's not true actually, and then it will usually then say, oh, I'm sorry. I apologize, you are right, and go on. So there's ways you can kind of shape it and train it. But yes, it's got to have, and we see this not only with our students, but also as school social worker, we have interns, and in education we have interns, and we see that as well in their work and the over reliance there, and trying to find a balance between utilizing it as a tool, like you said, but also being competent in your work and knowing you could do it without relying on that.
And of course, depending on what platform you're using, you're right. You can enter into it, some exact details of how you would prefer it respond, like you said, like a parent or a teacher or whatever the case is. But yeah, there are different ways to set it up. But the scary thing is, like what you just mentioned, you can say, don't lie or make up fictitious stuff whenever you respond to me. And then you realize it did. You go back and reread it and you ask it, did you make up any of this information? And it'll tell you if it did or not, which is the scary part of it. Because if you don't ask that question, did you make something up, you'll never know. And I could see where that would be one of the problems where students, adults also get into a lot of trouble with having the wrong information.
And so from a school system's standpoint, that's where we have to teach them on how to use these things to be, how to use them responsibly, basically. And that's why, because it's not going away. We're not going to get rid of AI. Everyone says that's the future. It's going to continue growing. So how do we harness that in these ways that we're talking about to make it a useful tool that doesn't misdirect us?
Yeah, I mean, do we use it like a Microsoft Word to make corrections for us on papers, or do we use it to write a paper for us? And that's one of those problems, I guess, that students, they're turning to it in some cases to literally write a paper instead of them doing the work. And that's another issue altogether.
Right. And we have ways, of course, of checking for those things. Teachers know when that's happening for the most part. And so there's ways around that too. And that's just one of those lessons you learn. But, like you mentioned, Microsoft Word or a computer, I much prefer using that than a typewriter. So anytime we have these leaps in technology, we have to absorb and adapt and adjust and learn how to incorporate them into what we do in a useful way.
Definitely. And it does seem like a lot of these leaps happen what feel like overnight.
Right, absolutely.
We're going to take a short break, and then we will be right back. And again, we're talking with the Rutherford County Schools today. And with us in studio, we have Tracy Wise, and she is the school's lead social worker, along with James Evans, the chief communications officer for the schools. And we will be right back in just a second. And if you did text in a question, we'll try to get to it in just a second. Again, our number is 615-893-1450. We'll be right back.
Rise and shine. It's finally election time. When you cast your ballot, you're choosing who will protect your legal records and manage our courts with care. I'm Melissa Harrell, and serving as your circuit court clerk has been my highest honor. I've worked to make our office more accessible and transparent for every citizen in our community. Election Day is Tuesday, May the 5th. I'm Melissa Harrell, and I would appreciate your vote to continue as your circuit court clerk.
Paid for by friends to elect Melissa Harrell, Doug Bodery, Treasurer.
Hi, this is Amanda from Animal City, inviting you to come do business with our family. We are delighted to have just celebrated our 35th anniversary, and that is all thanks to you, our wonderful customers. We are pet lovers too, and we personally select every treat and toy, ensuring it's the same quality that we give our own pets. Stop by Animal City and get the best quality pet gear in town. Animal City is at 919 Northwest Broad Street in Murfreesboro.
This is Peter Demas, and our family is inviting your family to come eat with us at Demas's restaurant. We're trying to give them a place where they can eat with their family that's not fast food. We want to create an atmosphere where we can sit down and just have a good old-fashioned family dinner. But unfortunately now, most people can't do it at home. So, two people are working, the kids' activities, and so what we're doing is we provide that, and we make it affordable. Come eat with us at Demas's restaurant on Northwest Broad Street.
NASCAR Powerball. The chase to 1 million is on.
Finalists, are you ready?
Don't miss your chance to collect cash prizes on your way to an all-new destination where you could take home $1 million.
This is insane! The winner is contestant number 2!
I can't believe it!
The official lottery game of NASCAR is back for the chase.
Enter at TNVIPRewards.com between May 1st and August 1st for your chance to win.
Hi, I'm Clarissa Smith, candidate for School Board Zone 4. Behind every great student is a dedicated teacher. To keep the best educators in our county, we must support them with a culture of respect and a safe and disciplined environment. When we empower our teachers, our children thrive. I'm Clarissa Smith, humbly asking you for your vote for School Board Zone 4.
Paid for by Friends of Clarissa Smith, School Board Zone 4. Clarissa Smith, Treasurer.
Hey Jim, where'd you source out those maters from?
Right out of my field.
The Rutherford County Farmers Market is located at 315 John R. Rice Boulevard. Open Friday 8 to noon, Tuesday 7 to noon or 2 to 7.
No middlemen, just local hands and local dirt.
The Action Line on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna. Listen and watch at WGNSradio.com.
The time right now, 8:53. And again, this morning we have from the Rutherford County School System, James Evans, who's the Public Information Officer, and then also Tracy Wise, the school's lead social worker. And some of the questions that were texted in, I think we already have pretty much answered towards the beginning about anxiety, depression among students. Those are things that are really pretty common, I guess, nowadays, aren't they?
Yes, and like I said, I think we do have an increase of education and less stigma of being willing to talk about it everywhere. But I did see kind of that switch probably after COVID. Unfortunately, it was one of, if we can say, a positive aspect came from COVID for as far as school social work and school counseling. We did see after that, students struggling as we came back to school and trying to figure out how to, how to deal with all of these things, this transition. And we saw people asking more questions of well, who's supporting mental health in schools, or who's going to help my child socially and emotionally? And we're like, oh, we're here. We've been here. And so after that, it does feel like there was definitely an increase in, we saw how we were utilized and just also, unfortunately, the needs of kids who were dealing and struggling with these issues.
Another one of the questions dealt with cell phone use, and the person was saying that they dislike the cell phone policy and they want their child to be able to contact me, I guess the mother, anytime if needed. But for those out there listening who may not have had kids in the system for a while, what are the policies surrounding cell phone usage?
Well, it actually came from the state level. The legislature last season passed a law that says that you're not allowed to have cell phones out during instructional time. And so our policy reflects what the state law is. But it's basically that during the school day, during the traditional school day, bell to bell, cell phones are to be put away. They can have them in their backpack. I have two of my children have cell phones. One of them's too young to have one. They're allowed to have them. If there were an emergency, of course, they could pull them out and call their parents. But otherwise, if it's routine kind of things where they need to get a hold of a parent, they can go to the office to call. And
kind of like the old days, right?
Absolutely. I mean, I think that we realize, just like we were talking earlier, how quickly technology moves, that everyone having a cell phone is a relatively new thing within the last 15, 20 years, really. And before that, we got by just fine. But like I said, they can still have them. They just have to have them put away. They can't have them out. And so they do have access to them were there to be some sort of emergency and they needed to do that. And we're seeing some positive things from it. My own middle school son told me, said, Dad, I don't want to tell you this, but I do feel like I can focus more. I am talking more to people at lunch and those kinds of things. There are some positives there. I know that we all want downtime. I probably have issues with too much screen time as well. My wife would probably tell you that. I need to put my phone away more. But it's just something we could all do with a little less of, is the screen time, and just put it away and focus on other things. And what we were talking about earlier too with anxiety, we're not just seeing it with students. I think more and more adults are feeling comfortable talking about it. Like Tracy said, the stigma is lifted, that we know something's not exactly right and I need to speak to somebody about it. And one of the things that I get asked a lot from parents is, hey, I heard that you know a counselor. How did you get in there? How do you get that set up? How do you, does insurance pay for it? All those things. And that's what this expo will help answer, is to connect people to some of these providers and resources so they can find those, because there is an unknown there. It's not like just going to a dentist or a doctor like we normally do. You have to figure out which places are taking patients and all those kinds of things, and how does that work with your insurance. Those are all questions they can help answer.
Definitely. And one of the questions actually asked, I probably won't be able to, we're almost out of time, but it was asking about, I can't find it right off the bat, but it was asking if there's going to be actual counselors at the mental health expo that you were talking about earlier.
So the representatives, the agencies and practices send their own representatives, but yes, it is often, someone who is a counselor or a therapist there and can answer the questions. So absolutely. And they can give really good insight into the process and how it all works, and just kind of, take away some of the fears or the unknowns.
Here's a great question that I never even thought about, but they ask, How do school social workers balance privacy with keeping parents informed? And I could see where that'd be a big problem, especially if the student is 18. But how do you balance all that?
It's a very large question. I know we don't have much time left. I mean, we do, school social workers, we do have confidentiality with our students. There are some limitations on that, though. So, and we do express that, as well as school counselors express that. When we are working with a student, that, what you say in here is safe in here, unless it deals with the safety of yourself or someone else. So if you express to us that you are having feelings of or wanting to hurt yourself or somebody else, or that someone else has been hurting you or has hurt you in the past, then that's kind of where that falls. And we can no longer just keep that between the two of us. And that's for your benefit, just because we are here for ultimately for student safety. And for those things, we have to go get some outside help.
And we are like totally out of time, but as we do close, tell us again about the Mental Health Expo, where it is, and how to get involved with it.
Yeah. Once again, Siegel Middle, Monday, May 18th, from 6 o'clock to 7:30. And we have probably about 30 different agencies and private practices that are going to be there for information. And we would love to have a great turnout. Probably not as good a turnout as American Idol, but would love to see a lot of parents come through their families to get the information you need.
Sounds great. Well, again, thank you for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having us.
And once more, James Evans and Tracy Wise with us from the Rutherford County Schools.